This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Today we have a Maytag Neptune washing machine, and it won't start. And when we press the start button, we hear a click, but nothing happens. And this is usually due to the little button underneath being worn out. So you can hear a click, which is a good sign, but there's no change in the display. It's almost as if you never even touched the button. All the other buttons seem to work, and the start button is likely to wear out first because it's used so often. So if it does wear out, the way to resolve it is to put a new console on. Underneath the console there's a controller, so you don't need a new controller, you just need a new push button console. And they don't make them anymore for these older Neptunes, but you can buy a used one on eBay, and they usually will give you some kind of a 30-day thing. So if that button on the used one is worn out, you can just return it. So we got a used one, and this video shows how to switch it out. So we unplugged it. We're going to remove these Phillips head screws from the top. They're 1/4 inch. You can use a 1/4 inch driver, or if it won't fit in there, the ones on the top are also Phillips head. The ones here on the back, there's 2 of them, are just 1/4 inch. They don't have a Phillips head option. There's one in the left hand and one in the right hand corner. So there's 2 there, and then I think it's 3 on top, 3 or 4 on top that you remove, and the back panel will come off. Once the back panel comes off, the whole plastic console can be taken off by tilting it towards you to about 45 degrees and then lifting it out. So I'm just removing those Phillips head screws from the top. Alright, so we got the panel pulled off the back, and now we're going to tilt the whole console up toward us, and that's going to let the little legs in the front let go, and we can lift the console out away from the frame. And then it's just a matter of removing the ribbon cable from the back of the controller, and then removing a few screws from the controller. So we're going to lift up on the ribbon cable. Just take your time, kind of lift up on the right, lift up on the left a little bit, give it some wiggle, and you can pull it out. And we're going to remove a Phillips head screw here at the bottom. There's 2 at the bottom and 2 at the top. They're at about 45 degrees, makes them pretty easy to get to. And once those are out, we can lift the controller. You don't have to disconnect any of these wires. You can just lift the controller off of the plastic console and just slip in the new console. There is another part on a Neptune washing machine that could fail that would give you a similar symptom when you press start, nothing happens, and that would be the little door switch that senses when the door is closed. I did check that on this one, the door switch was okay. I'm removing the old console, and I'll slip in the new one. It's just the exact same part, and then I just have to get the controller to slip in to position, and I'll add those 4 screws that hold it in, and then I'll gently push the ribbon cable back on. The ribbon cable it's kind of the female side, it has to fit down on the male side of about 14 little pins. You want to make sure that those pins are nice and vertical and lined up before you try to push the ribbon cable down onto them. Just take your time on that part because you don't want to bend those little pins. I'm just getting those screws in there to hold the console in position. Sometimes on a touchpad, when one button goes out, it's due to a dirty ribbon cable, but this type, you can't really clean the ribbon cable, and it doesn't really apply to this type of setup. So we've got these screws holding it on. And the symptom again was that the start button would blink like it was ready to go, but then when you press it, nothing happens. So I'm being really careful here now as I'm putting the ribbon cable back down on its pins. Got to make sure those pins are straight and they're not bent. I noticed one of them was a little bit bent off to the side, so I'm going to gently get it straight again, take my time and get it lined up, and then I'll make sure that it's firmly back into position. So I'm putting it back straight onto the machine, and I'm just going to test it here before I do the final part, putting it back together. I'll plug it in and make sure that it's going to start okay. Plugged it in and everything lights up correctly. When I press start, immediately the machine fires up. So that's all it was. It just needed a new start button, a new touchpad, which is part of the console. So now I'll unplug it and go ahead and just do the final reassembly. I just have to put a few more screws on the back of the controller to hold it to the console, and then I've got to end up putting that metal plate back on the back. So these are pretty good machines. I would guess this one's probably 16, 17 years old and it's still going good. And I think we're able to get this console for about 50 bucks. So everything's back in position. I'm going to set it down. I'll put that metal plate back on. And then the ones on the top are going to be Phillips head. 1/4 inch socket would work, but also they have a Phillips head. But the two on the bottom right hand, bottom left hand, lower corner, those don't have the Phillips head, and they're also shorter. These are the ones on the top are longer. So these are the shorter 1/4 inch ones without the Phillips head. Alright, I'll put it back together, we'll plug it back in, give it one more test. So that it's blinking, we press start, it becomes solid, and then it fires right up, and all the other buttons seem to be working too. So easy fix with this used console. So here's a look at the old console. The ribbon cable shows the part number, and again you can get these pretty easily on eBay. There's a few other stores that sell them, but they're usually going to be used. And in the description they'll tell you that they've tested it and it works, so that did the trick. Hopefully this will help you to get your Maytag going. Thanks so much for watching, and please subscribe to our channel when you get a chance.